morning, everybody. Welcome back to MUFC versus everybody. Obviously, we're not live, so I'm not going to get a chance to interact with everybody and get your reactions to things. But today, we're coming to you with my three thoughts on Manchester United bowing out their season with their last home match of the season, winning 3-2 against Newcastle. So obviously, we still have one match left to go. We're away at Brighton on the weekend, and then we've got our FA Cup final. But it was good to get a win to see out our last home match of the season. I think that was a big win for us, a big win for Ten Hag as well, and a big performance from a lot of players who really could be very vital to us in the last few matches of the season. So we'll do some three thoughts on that, like I said, and then we're going to do some roundup today for the news. So before I do get started, we'll remind you all as you're watching the video, please don't forget to give a like. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you're new, and don't forget to go follow me on Twitter, MUFC versus everybody. If you like the videos, leave a comment. I'll comment. I'll respond to all the comments. I'll interact with you guys. And like I said, the more we can build the community, the more we can get people involved and engaging, the more I can interact with everybody, the more I'd love to be able to show my appreciation for that in the future and give back to you guys. Maybe do like a giveaway, do like a call-in once I learn how to do that. I told you I'm not the very techie guy. You know, I'm old, so I didn't even have the internet really until I was about 10 or 11. No cell phone until about 17, 18 years old. So I grew up a lot without a lot of that stuff. And so even social media, not a big social media guy, definitely not a big technology guy as far as YouTube and recording and streaming is concerned, but I'm learning. So any feedback would be appreciated. Just be nice. I do have sensitive feelings, so I'll do what I can. But why don't we start with a little bit of news, just making the rounds, and then we will dive into my three thoughts on the match, because obviously we did my match reaction yesterday. So if you haven't gone and watched that, please go do so. A lot of good thoughts in there on the match itself. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on the match, on the performance, any players that stood out, any players you would drop. Do you think that saves Ten Hag? Do you think that, it's not going to make a difference? Let me know your thoughts. So let's dive right in. First and foremost, we can't start with anything other than congratulating youngster Ethan Wheatley, obviously our young striker. He has been awarded this season's Jimmy Murphy Young Player of the Year award. Remember, the last two recipients of that award were Kobbie Mainoo and Alejandro Garnacho, two players who have really been shining in the last few years. So the future does look bright. Wheatley has featured a few times in the first team, usually coming on as a late sub, getting a few minutes, and he's looked lively. He's gotten around the pitch. He's put in a shift. He presses. He's winning the ball. He's quick. Nearly got that goal the other day that he probably should have squared for his teammate, but it is what it is. He's young. You forgive him. So congratulations, Ethan Wheatley, on winning Jimmy Murphy Young Player of the Year. United have built this club on a foundation of youth. We are proud of that. We have that record for an academy graduate featuring in the matchday squad that has been going on, and long may it continue. And so between Wheatley and several other young players that have been featuring the first team this year, and then we've got a lot of youngsters coming through the academy that look good, like Amas as well. I think the future looks bright, and we can continue that record. And again, just promoting from within, I do like that. So big up Ethan Wheatley. Moving on, I'm sure by now you've all seen the news that the Premier League clubs are set to vote on a proposal to scrap VAR at next month's AGM. I just want to wipe away a single tear of joy at the possibility of that happening. It's like I almost want to insert that Hawkeye meme from Avengers, right? Just don't do that. Don't give me hope. If you know by now, I'm not a big fan of VAR. If you look at my pinned tweet on my X account, it is just a simple hashtag of scrap VAR. I will use that hashtag on many things. I encourage you to do so as well. But in any case, this proposal is the result of a formal resolution submitted by Wolves after they've felt aggrieved by a few contentious VAR decisions this season, such as not being awarded a penalty in that early game of the season against us when Onana came out to win the ball. I can't believe they're still crying about that, to be honest. There's tons of people. There are rival fans that have nothing to do with Wolves crying about that. It's really weird. But in any case, they also did see a stoppage time equalizer ruled out against West Ham for a subjective offside. I still don't know how offsides can be subjected. It's like being dead or alive. You can't be somewhat dead. So you're either or. You're either offside or you're not. I know we had a situation like that against Arsenal. I believe that goal was ruled out because Garnacho was another subjective offside. I don't get that. But I think that by now we can all see that VAR, and I think that we like to say VAR, and I think in many people's minds that they say that, and it's like mentally, psychologically, it's like this entity, but you have to keep in mind that it's video assistant referee. It's a referee. It's a person. It's a person. It's a room full of persons, right? Making this bad decision, which literally just makes it worse, right? You can be excused for making a mistake in real time, but when you have a room full of people watching replays from different angles in slow motion and they still make the wrong decisions, it's mind-boggling that a room full of people can subjectively get a decision wrong. It's just weird. So in the proposal submitted by Wolves, they state that their position is, quote, the price they're paying for a small increase in accuracy is at odds with the spirit of the game. The league's position, however, is that it fully supports the use of VAR and remains committed alongside the PGMOL, those D-bags, to make continued improvements to the system for the benefit of the game and fans. This is the thing that bugs me, is that last line, for the benefit of the game and fans. What is it with those in power, people in power, whether it be the league or club owners or countries or whatever, in believing that they know what's best for everyone else? They know what's best for the game. They know what's best for the fans. This is exactly what the Super League put out there. Like, they're trying to save the game by doing this kind of thing. Like, you don't get to decide what's best for you. You don't get to decide that you know better just because you're in a position of power. Being in a position, this is why it's an argumentative fallacy to argue from a position of authority. If you're talking about football and with a group of people, and one of them was like, well, I've got my UEFA, C license, so therefore I know more than you, so I automatically win the argument. It's an argument from a position of power. It's a fallacy. It doesn't work. That's literally like saying nobody in the world can talk about physical health if they're not a doctor. Like, or if I got into an argument with someone about mental health in football and I just whipped out the line, like, I'm a licensed psychologist. I have a master's level in psychology. I've been a practicing therapist for the better part of a decade. You're not allowed to say anything about mental health because you're wrong if you do. It doesn't make sense. I would never do that. Everybody can have an opinion. Everybody can have an experience. Everybody can have perspective. It doesn't mean that one person is just the automatic argument winner. So it's weird that people think that they know what's best for everyone. In any case, as far as this proposal goes to scrap VAR, it's going to take a majority vote. So 14 of the 20 Premier League clubs in the league have to vote in favor of the proposal to scrap it. So again, please don't give me hope if it's not going to happen, but it is. I think the fact that this is happening, the fact that we've seen so many instances where the referees this season especially have come out and literally said, like, we've made mistakes, we've done this. Like, it's been happening for years that they make mistakes. I remember before VAR was implemented, there was an instance where United played Sheffield United, and Sheffield got a goal in a set piece, but there was a foul on David De Gea. He was basically fouled and prevented from coming out and claiming that. And they admitted after the fact, the referees at the league, that goal should not have stood. But that's fine. We can get mad about it after the fact because there was no VAR. It was in real time. It is what it is. But when you have VAR and decisions like that stand, then it becomes a problem. So we'll see what happens. I'm not optimistic, but it is going to go down next month. In like less than a month now, 3 weeks or so. I would love to see VAR get scrapped. I think a lot of us would. I think that it's one of those things where it's good in theory, but in actual application, it just doesn't. It's not really working. And the interesting thing is if you look at other countries, other leagues who use it, are they having as many issues? No. And that's where it becomes not just VAR, it's the referees itself. The standard of refereeing in England is just not up to it. And that's what's being put on show here. And honestly, if the league wanted to maintain some sort of integrity, they could go back, call it, hey, we were trialing this for a few years. There's still some things to work out. We might revisit it. If in an effort to save face, just by trying to prevent the referees from continuing to be looked foolish with these decisions. They should just scrap it in that regard as well. So let me know what you think in the comments after the fact, but I think that it'd be great if we could scrap it. You know how I feel. So hashtag scrap VAR, keep it going. Hey, big up the U18s, by the way. They are the U18 Premier League national champs. So that's, for them, that's the Premier League North, the Premier League Cup, and now the national champs for the U18 League. Congratulations to the lads. We're super proud of you all. The same with the women's team winning their FA Cup. You know, the youth team and the women's team they've been carrying a lot of dead weight this season. So your move, first team. Make something happen at the end of the month against City. Finish the season strong. We need 3 points against Brighton to have a hope of getting into Europe, and then we've got to hope other results go away. But then we also, you know, like I've said before, our best bet could be the FA Cup final. So keep playing like we've been playing. Start the right players, and I think we'll have a shot. A little bit of transfer news. We got word coming out from TalkSport that United are trying to hijack Newcastle's move for free agent Tosin Adarabioyo. Remember, we talked about him before. We've been heavily linked with him. He's Fulham center back. He's 26, Manchester born. He's got great interception numbers, great in the air. We need a center back. He's free agent. It's a no-brainer, in my opinion. He'd be a good third option. And depending on prioritizing and funds, I mean, he could be a great kind of partner for Lisandro Martinez, I think. I think he is good enough to do that. He wouldn't be my first choice to be the first team starting 11 partner for Licha, but he wouldn't be the worst choice. And he's free. So I think that's a no-brainer. We definitely need to hijack that move and try to make it happen. I think the Manchester born and bred part is a really good factor. So hopefully we can make that happen. Some manager news. Anyone hoping for Thomas Tuchel to take over as United manager might be disappointed. Remember, we did a video on Thomas Tuchel a while back. If you haven't went and watched that, please go do so. It's a good video. But the Times are reporting that Bayern might make a big shocking U-turn on their decision to sack him. Remember, they announced a few months back that he'd be leaving. Bayern fans did a petition. I think it got up to almost 20,000 signatures as of last week to keep him, especially since I think the Champions League final will be at their arena next year. But they may be keeping him. And now it's making the rounds this morning. So obviously that news came out yesterday. It's making the rounds now this morning from Pletty on Twitter that Tuchel is actually going to remain as Bayern manager. So it's a bit refreshing, right, to see managers be given a chance even if they struggle. Like, it doesn't send a good message to the managers, doesn't send a good message to players or fans for that matter. It's kind of like I look at United, look at Chelsea. If I look at myself, because I own my business, if I hired a therapist and I fired them and I kept hiring and firing therapists within a few months, it becomes less about them and more about me, about how I do with appointing. It's the same with any business. If you have to keep firing people that you yourself hire, eventually people are going to start looking at your decision-making, your discernment, your judgment, and it's going to come into question. It's nice to see managers given a chance to turn things around. It's not an instant thing. I think that in this day and age, we want things too instantaneously. We want things right away. We want to see results. And managers need time. They need time to get in players, especially. And the club can help that if there's a set structure in place and a philosophy and a style of play and like an identity. Then there is less changes needed because the manager you bring in will reflect that. And yeah, some tweaks here and there, but I think given some time, given some transfer windows, definitely given a preseason. You know, when Tuchel came into Chelsea, he didn't have a preseason. Obviously, he overachieved that first season, but I think a club like Bayern choosing to give a manager time when, you know, they failed to win the Bundesliga for the first time in over a decade. I think that shows patience and trust, and I think it shows the fans, the players, and the managers that we can make that change and kind of shift back towards being a little patient and backing a manager. Well, who thought, right? Back a manager. You like to see it. So let's jump onto the match here. You know, Newcastle United, Manchester United, last match of the season at home at Old Trafford. We came out 3-2 winners. I thought we started really, really well, as I said in my match reaction. So today, 3 thoughts. Number 1, do we need Michael Olise? Now, I know I've talked about Michael Olise. He's got that release clause. He's a good winger. I think he's an excellent winger. I really like him. But as we've seen the last few matches, And we saw even against Liverpool in the FA Cup, Amad Diallo could be the shrewd option and almost a hidden gem in this squad if you think about it. Obviously, he's been here 3 or 4 years now almost. Ollie signed him from Atalanta. He didn't really feature a whole lot. He went on loan to Rangers and he went on loan to Sunderland. He got injured preseason this year. It's been a long road to recovery, as we know. But he's come on and he's featured and he's done a job. Obviously, it's taken him a bit to get back up to match fitness, but these last 2 matches, I think he's shown that we don't need necessarily to buy a right winger. Olise is good, but do we need him? Is right wing a priority? With limited funds and other priority positions that we need to strengthen, I'd almost say we need to maybe stick with Ahmad for at least another season and then revisit that right wing option, maybe start assessing it again, maybe next January, and then maybe decide going into next summer if that's the position we need to work on. Doesn't mean I'd also stick with Anthony. Maybe we could sell Anthony, but I think we've got some youngsters. Maybe there's a super cheap option out there, some young wingers out there who'd come in and rotate, maybe like a Nusa at Club Brugge, maybe like Rooney Bargi if he's, depending on how his ACL injury holds up, maybe like a Sule, Ezekiel Zeballos at Boca, who knows? But Ahmad has shown that he might be the best option moving forward on that right wing, and he's just better than Anthony, like period. He's more creative, he's quicker, he's better on the ball, better off the ball. His first thought isn't just to cut in and shoot. His first thought is to create, and that's what you want from wingers. To create, to get in the good positions and create chances. Ahmad has been a bright spark these last 2 matches, like I said, and he was man of the match last night. Look on FootMob, look on SofaScore, he was man of the match. Rightfully so. He had a goal and he had an assist, and he also created 2 chances. We've struggled to create chances recently, and I think Ahmad showed that he can do a job. And for such a smaller player, he's very physical. He was winning some tackles, making some interceptions and things. He only dribbled past like once. He's a good player. It's such a shame that he was injured early in the season and the recovery for so long, and I have to, when I think about that, we all have to fight that question that creeps into our mind in that moment that asks, what if he was fit? Or what if Ahmad was fit all season? Where would we be? Tell the same thing I tell clients. Don't play the what if game. Nobody wins when you play the what if game. It's just gonna ruin your day. So don't think about it. It's only going to make you sad. It's only going to make you mad. It's only going to make you go insane. You'll pick one or all the above. It's not going to be good for anybody. Just got to move past it. The important thing is Ahmad is here now and he's cooking, right? So, and I know I've said before, no, Ten Hag didn't sign him, and therefore he has no obligation to him. But I hope he sees what we do and how we play when Ahmad is on the pitch. I hope he sees how much better that right wing position looks. I hope he sees how much more creative and more effective we can be in the final third. He doesn't have an obligation to him. Well, I think that the club has an obligation and responsibility structurally to remind Ten Hag that he's there and we don't have to spend money if we don't need it. And so I think that Ten Hag needs to swallow a bit of pride and realize Anthony's just not going to cut it. And doesn't mean Anthony's not a good player. Doesn't mean he's crap. I'm not saying that. But not every player is cut out for the league. We saw it with Sancho. Diced in Dortmund before he came to the Premier League and has struggled, and he goes back to Dortmund and he looks fine. Some people just can't handle the Premier League, whether that's a coach thing, teammates thing, a league thing, or whatever. There's a lot of factors that can go into that. But there's no shame in admitting it. The shame is just being stubborn and not admitting it before it's too late. And I hope that Ten Hag can hold his hands up and say, you know what? I underestimated Ahmad, and I wanted to go with someone that I knew and trusted, and it hasn't worked out. It happens to every manager. We just need to move on. I hope Sir Jim, Ineos, Omar Barada, I hope they all see that Ahmad is here as well. And if Ten Hag wants a winger, if Ten Hag tries to sell, I hope they push back. I hope they do. And I hope Ahmad advocates for himself. It looks like he is. Obviously, Steve Bruce was talking to him a little bit after the match, telling him, you need to go to the manager's room and tell him I'm playing in the final. I think that Ahmad definitely needs to start. I'd probably start Rashford over Garnacho, at least against Brighton, because Garnacho has looked tired. I think Garnacho needs a little bit of rest, at least for a match. Maybe come on as a sub against Brighton. Because we saw last season, Garnacho scored so many goals as a sub, so I think maybe rest him against Brighton and kind of make a decision for the final. But sticking with Ahmad, getting back to Ahmad, could save us tens of millions this summer, and which again could free up funds for other positions. So I think it's a no-brainer. Stick with Ahmad, maybe hold off on the right wing position for now, and let's go from there. Let me know your thoughts, though. Moving on. Number 2. It's going to sound redundant, but Bruno just makes us better. Like that's just is what it is. You can't argue against it. I don't understand how people try to. People have been trying to do this since he joined. It was a Pogba versus Bruno thing that started within our own fan base. It was so weird. I'll never understand it to my dying day. But Bruno makes us better. He came yesterday. He created 5 chances, 1 big chance, and had an assist. Now remember, in the last 2 matches where Bruno was injured against Arsenal and Palace, we didn't have any big chances. He missed both those matches. We had no goals in those matches either. He comes back and we score 3 goals and he gets an assist and he's creating chances, And there's things that he can do, like I said in that other video, that nobody else can do. That little chip pass to Garnacho around the 26th minute, when Garnacho made that quick little run past the defenders, that little just perfectly lobbed, perfectly placed dinked chip pass from Bruno that found Garnacho was nobody else can do that in the squad. That's just the way it is. I thought he showed composure against Newcastle, very controlled. Like I said in my match reaction, there was an instance late in the first half stoppage time. We were ahead by a goal, right? It was 1-0. We had the ball in Newcastle's half coming off a set piece, and it fell to Bruno, but there was a lot of pressure. There was not really any options. Now, I think the Bruno of a few months ago would have tried to turn and either lash a shot or try to take the ball and probably lose possession and open us up to a counterattack. But yesterday, in that same situation, he opted to just go ahead and play a safe long ball back to Onana, ease that pressure a little bit, slow things down, and kill off some more time. And that's the kind of composure, that's the kind of discernment and decision-making and match IQ that we need to see more of from a lot of our players. But I think that is the type of thing that Bruno has been doing more of recently. And I'm really happy to see it. I thought it was a big play yesterday. It was a captain's performance against Newcastle. And it carried on well after the final whistle. Now, there were a lot of photos and footage going around on social media that he was still at Old Trafford as late as 11:30 their time, signing autographs. I mean, the match ended at 8? No, wait. Yeah, 10. At 10 their time. So he's still chilling a couple hours after that. I had to do math in my head. I remember they're 5 hours ahead of me. So they're still he's still doing autographs there. And I know Ten Hag did the same thing too, by the way. So I think that people need to, there's a lot of things that you don't see covered by the media, or you don't see because it's not within the 2 hours of a match that really make a big difference. And I think people need to maybe give players and managers the benefit of a doubt a little bit more than others, because the media will pick and choose what it wants to talk about or what it wants to show based on what suits its agenda. And the media will hold on to rumors and photos and footage for months and months and months until the opportune moment. It's like a Jack Sparrow thing. And then they will use it. But as far as Bruno's performance goes, like I said, captain's performance, he played half fit, basically. Still has the cast on his hand, still probably feeling it in his ankle, but he put in a tremendous shift. Why people hate on him, I'll not understand. They still do for some reason. Someone the other day responded to me. I forget what channel I was watching. It was a live stream, and I was kind of making some comments in the live chat where they were talking about Bruno, and I made a comment about his, the fact that we didn't create chances at all when he's gone, and he's leading the league in chances created. He's like second for big chances created. It might even be more now, but someone responded to me that it doesn't count or it doesn't matter because of the way the league supposedly categorizes or how they analyze those numbers. If someone can explain to me how that's a valid argument, that would be great. But I'm just checking the chances created stat to see if it's, so he's still second behind Mo Salah for big chances created. So Bruno has 21 big chances created in the season. Mo Salah's got 23. Overall, he's got 113 chances created, which is the best in the league. The next is Pascal Gross with 99. So he is 14 more chances created than anyone else in the league. But yet, People think that he's a problem. People think he's garbage. I don't get it. So yeah, like I said, someone said, it's his chances great are skewed because of the way that the league categorizes that or some shit like that. I don't know. And I remember just reading that, and I'm like sitting there like, what are you talking about, bro? Like, how is that even? Doesn't make any sense. Do you watch the games? Do you see what's happening on the pitch? And this problem is this is the kind of people that exist in any fan base, not just United's, but in this case, it's United's. These kind of people, they have an agenda, and they're so stubborn, they get so entrenched in it, and they think that it makes them look foolish to change their minds or admit that they maybe jumped the gun. And so instead of backing down, they double down. Whenever the player in question makes a mistake or something makes them look bad, they ignore literally anything else that doesn't suit the agenda. It's a mental thing. It's like just like this filter, and anything that doesn't suit the agenda just goes right out the window, and everything, all that remains is the stuff that you think makes you right and backs up your opinion. And it's forcing yourself not to celebrate your team's goals or saves or whatever else your team does because of an agenda is weird. It's petty, it's stubborn, it's immature, it's childish, and overall, it's just in an argument context, it's just unintelligent. It just makes you look like an idiot. I'm not trying to call people names. I call them like I see them. So get some help. You can give me a call. I'll give you a discount on my rates if you want to talk about it and process through some of these hard thoughts and feelings you're having. Maybe we can get to the core issue there, but people need to be more open to changing their mind. It doesn't make you look like an idiot. It only makes you look like an idiot when you double down on your agenda like this. Because if you think people can't see it, if you think people agree with you, or do you think people think you're right, it's just, you're in for a rude awakening. Because I'll tell you right now, it doesn't. You're not right. It just makes you look like a stubborn, immature child. And so get some help, get over it, grow up a little bit. It's one of the most mature things you can learn how to do in life is admit when you're wrong. Okay? Work on it. Moving on. Number 3. Manu is the main character. I was flipping out yesterday on Twitter the way Manu was playing. Not only did he pop up with that goal, which I think he was even himself kind of surprised the ball fell to him, but there were some little instances of play, first touches here, ball control here, that you're just like, what are you doing? I remember tweeting right before the play before he scored, like, Onana had played a goal kick to him, and it just came to him, and he like caught it on his chest on the turn. It dropped right into his foot, and then his first touch was perfect just to move away from the Newcastle player and continue on and create space for himself. Like, that it was such a silky, filthy move from a teenager that, I remember Fellaini used to do stuff like that. And I'm not saying like Fellaini is that dude, but Manu he just got it. Like, I don't know how else to say it. Build around Kabi. Kabi is the key. Kabi is the truth. Kabi is the answer. No matter the question, Kabi. All right. After a few matches, to be fair, after a few matches recently, he has looked a little bit tired. Maybe a dip in form as you're going to get with youth. It's just, it just happens now and then. It's not that he looked bad. He just wasn't as impactful as he used to be. And fair play to Arsenal, fair play to Crystal Palace. I think he's looked better with Amrabat next to him than he has with like McTominay or Eriksen personally. But he's just so composed and he's just so silky on the ball. We've seen him pass and dribble. We've seen him control that, and he showed it. But tonight, or last night against Newcastle, we also saw a little bit more of his defensive side. Now we know he plays as a 6. I don't think he's a 6. I think he's an 8. But tonight it showed that he can contribute off the ball. So he had 2 out of 2 tackles won, made 3 interceptions. He won 3 out of 5 ground duels as well. And then, of course, he grabbed that goal. So pitched in defensively tonight, which was great. And then it was 1 shot, 1 kill from him tonight with his goal, because that was his only shot of the match, and it was a straight up goal. And it was saw his nice little pump fake there before he put the shot in too, to kind of give himself a little time. I don't want to put too much hype on or pressure on Manu, but or any of our young players for that matter. But the kids got it. Like I said, when we start this proper rebuild, Manu should be the foundation of that. You want to rip down the house, you want to get new foundations. Manu should be what you build around moving forward. His ability to just slow things down in the best ways possible, right? It's always when it looks like you've got time and space, especially in the Premier League, that's because you're good. You're a good player when you looks like you have nothing but time and space on the ball. And so I thought Kabi had an excellent match. Of course, he needs to be starting. It's hard because we don't have many other options who are better than he is. I think if we can get a couple goals up by Brighton and it's like the 65th, 70th minute, take him off, rest him for a hot second, and bring on someone like maybe Eriksson or push McTominay or even push Bruno back to the deeper role and just kind of shore up the midfield a little bit. I think that would be a wise move. So let me know, guys, what you thought about Mainu's performance last night. Real quick shout outs before I go here. So shout out to Sofian Amrabat, who again was solid. How about that block to deny Alexander Isak late on in the match? He was in that situation. He was alone against two attackers. It was just him and then Onana in a situation where the vast majority of players were probably going to concede a goal there, right? But he comes in, makes a brilliant sliding to block, and we can see the corner, but no one cares in those positions. A lot of players in that position would have not been able to be that effective. I'm not saying 100% make it permanent. I do think he's probably better than McTominay because he offers more than McTominay. But I think that it's been almost, and it's not his fault that we haven't seen as much of it because obviously he's been injured. He had to play out of position. He was at AFCON, and then. But it's one of those what if things. What if we had used him more? He's shown in the last few matches that he's actually quite good. He's shown why we bought him. No, he's not that destroyer. He is just a composed presence in midfield. He keeps things ticking. And he's a Michael Carrick basically. But it does make you wonder where we'd be and how good he would be, match fit and match rhythm and momentum wise had he gotten a little bit more minutes than just the last few matches. So, and then I'll close out tonight with a big shout out to Marcus Rashford. He came on as a sub and after being injured for the last few weeks, which makes it 400 appearances for Marcus Rashford at Manchester United. That's insane. I was reading some stats. He's only the 28th player in United's history to reach 400 games for the club. Obviously, he's been here since a teenager when he made his debut under Louis van Gaal. He's been playing. He's almost been playing full on for a decade. The worry is are we burning him out? How many other players in football get that many appearances at this young age? Is 26. So that's a lot of football. He's 28th player for United to do that. He could very soon overtake Lou Macari, who's got 401 appearances. Dennis Law had 404, and then Steve Bruce had 414. So if Rashford is here next season, he will basically get up to the top 25 in terms of appearances for the club. So big up Marcus Rashford. We do back you. We are demanding. We do criticize when it's warranted, but we do know how good you are, which is why we get so frustrated, which is why we demand more, because we know you're capable of it. So ignore whatever that fan was who was giving you crap during the warm-up. Like, he doesn't speak to everybody. It's one voice. Yes, in those moments, that one voice does seem louder. Just ignore it, tune it out. All right? Just because someone says something, just because someone feels a way doesn't make it true. So ignore him, move on, work hard, get back to fitness, get back to form. We need you against Brighton. We're going to need you against City in the final. Just get your head on, get your head down, get to work, and just get back to that Rashford that we know you are, that we know you can be, and that we've seen. So we love you. We support you. Congrats on 400 appearances. You're not going to see this, so it doesn't make a difference, but I'm still putting it out there because I don't care. It doesn't matter who sees it. You say it. So in any case, those are my three thoughts. Number one, do we need Michael Olise because we have Ahmad? Number two, Bruno Fernandes makes us better. Doesn't matter any way you slice it. And number three, Mainu is the main character. Build around Kobbie Mainu. Moving forward, he's the foundation. He is the future. He is the truth. He is the answer. I don't care what the question is. Kobbie is the answer. So those are my three thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments. Please like the video. Please subscribe to the channel if you're new. I will respond to your comments because I love seeing you guys interact. Go follow me on Twitter, MUFC versus everybody. I have been Sean. This has been my three thoughts on Newcastle match. And I will see you guys ahead of the Arsenal match or not the Brighton match of the weekend, ahead of that for my preview. So I'll see you guys then, and take care.